Hey YouTube, in this video I'm talking about the importance of small muscles towards improving sprint performance. And generally the main movers when you sprint, you can list them out really easily. You've got the hip flexors, the glutes, the hamstrings, the quadriceps, and the calf muscles. And generally, most of these muscles, they get trained, but the hip flexors get trained to a much lesser degree than the rest of them do, and maybe even the glutes too. But the glutes would just purely be because of how you're training them, not so much that you're not training them at all. For example, you might be trying to do squats and activate your glutes, but you're not activating your glutes whilst you're squatting, for example. But what about the hip flexors? How often do you specifically train the hip flexors? One of the main movers when you're sprinting. And I am of the belief that the hip flexors and the glutes are the major movers of the entire movement. Everything else happens just after both of these things activate in sequence. So if you're not specifically set aside time to train the hip flexors, then what are you doing? Because whilst sprinting relies mainly on these major muscles, coordination and stability rely on the smaller ones. And these smaller ones that we focus on usually come from the hip flexors, or they're attached around there. And the hip flexors, plural, are a bunch of small muscles that work together to form the hips. I'm talking about the psoas, the iliacus, and the sartorius. So if you want to be able to get faster as we sprint, we're going to have to be specifically doing exercises that target these muscles. For example, someone might tell you, like a coach might say you have weak hip flexors, but two of the muscles I just mentioned are extremely strong, whilst only one of them that's weak, that's hindering your sprint performance. So strengthening that one muscle would be enough for you to improve. But if you don't specifically try and strengthen that one muscle, or you don't know how to go about strengthening that one muscle, then how can you? So I just wanted to shed light on how important these three muscles were, and generally not just these three muscles but other minor muscles. Because when we go to the gym, it's very easy to go and just train certain things like squats, deadlifts, and say, yeah, I've gotten bigger, the numbers have gone up, my muscles look bigger, I'm faster now. But it's not that simple, because you're only as fast as your weakest link. And if you have no coordination, and if you have no stability, then a lot of the force you're able to produce into the ground gets dispersed, as your body doesn't have the stability to be able to use that force efficiently. So just improving your stability and coordination is enough for you to get faster without you having to work on any muscular improvements. And the reason why it's generally enough is because these muscles that you don't work on, they really just focus on stabilizing coordination, but they're invisible. For example, you can't see your hip flexors, any of them. Well, I mean, you can actually see you can actually see them, but they're parts of other muscles. For example, you might be able to see some of your hip flexors connect into your quadriceps, for example, as you tense. I don't know exactly which part of the muscle it is, but I'm pretty sure it's the one that's straight down the quads and along the middle that connects up to your hip flexors, for example. And you can't see any of them through the back of your in the back of your lower back, which means if you were to work on them, you wouldn't know how well they've improved, how long you need to work on them to improve. But they're very important, generally because most sprinters, the majority of sprinters, they have weak hip flexors. That's the reason why they're not fast. Majority of them have weak hip flexors, and the really fast ones have extremely strong hip flexors. In fact, Mustafa Powell was scanned years ago, and it was shown that he had, I think it was his psoas muscle was about 3 times the size of the average humans. So I don't care if you say, yeah, I have pretty strong hip flexors. Are your hip flexors that strong? If they were to get scanned, would they be rivaling Mustafa Powell's? If the answer is no, then they're too weak. And the reason why people don't train these muscles is because they don't always know how to train these muscles, or they look at certain things and they say, oh, this is a sissy movement. But does it matter if it seems sissy, or if you don't really know how to train the muscle, if you're not going to get faster? Because your main goal here is not how movement looks, it's to get faster. So if you do know movements to get faster in these, do them, don't neglect them, and keep doing them. Don't just stop, because what will happen is you'll see improvements in sprinting quite quickly if you do these, because your body will quickly adapt, just like, because it's still just training muscles, not really tendons. I mean, it is training tendons, but mainly it's muscles. So once your body figures out how to do it, you're going to improve really quickly. But just because you've improved doesn't mean you can stop. You have to keep going. It's just like how if you wanted to get 20-inch biceps, they're not going to happen in a year. They're probably not going to happen in 2 years. You're going to have to keep going for years and years and years. It's the same thing here. The only difference is you're not going to be able to see these muscles as they improve. You're going to be able to feel these muscles as they improve. Everything's going to get easier as you sprint. But you won't be able to see them, so you won't be able to know how much improvement you've made. Generally, resistance bands are your friends. This is why a lot of sprinters, they generally have a lot of resistance bands. Me, myself included, I've got like 6 big resistance bands and like 4 small ones. These resistance bands are your friends. You want to go from the lightest resistance band, work your way up to the heaviest resistance band and everything. Start with the small ones and get to the big ones. If you get to the big ones, now you can do these movements unilaterally. Generally, for the psoas, you can do knee raises with resistance band. If you're going to do it unilaterally, just lie down on the ground and then just put your foot in and then lift up. With the hips, for the sartorius, clamshells, lateral walks, resistance bands again. And then I can't really do it for the clamshells, but for the side walks with resistance band, it is possible to put one resistance band around your leg and just start walking out a bit, just a bit, then you step back a bit, and you step back. And you can increase the strength of the resistance band from there and just keep going. What makes it even better, I think, with the side walks is you're able to get one muscle in 2 ranges of motion, because generally when you do the side walks with a tiny resistance band, you're only able to work the muscle, but you're only able to work the muscle on one leg in a specific planar direction. I mean, not even a single planar direction, half of a planar direction instead of both ways. You can only go like left or right. You can't go left and right with a single leg, but unilaterally you can. So build up to these with with a single large resistance band, so you can do them unilaterally, so you can get more out of them. And just keep doing them again and again and again and again. And think of it like the same way how you would when you're in the gym. When you're in the gym, if you're trying to build strength, you're going to do reps of about 3. If you're trying to build a bit of muscle, but mainly focus on strength, reps of about 5. If you're trying to build some muscle, reps of about 8 to 12. Play around with the reps. If you're starting off with a stronger resistance band, you want to I'd say work your way up. So you're going to start off mainly strength wise, and you have to work your way up to these high numbers. But this is where, especially with these minor muscles, where you can go as heavy as you want. Essentially, you can do as many reps as you want within range, obviously, because there obviously is limits. You don't want to be doing like 500 reps every day. That would be a bit crazy. But even if you did, it wouldn't be like something that's too drastic, too bad for you, as long as you worked up steadily to that number, because this is something you're going to be doing for years, especially if you plan to be sprinting for a long time. So work up to these massive numbers with sets however you want. Like you might want to do sets of 10 and work your way up to be able to do sets of 20 or something, or maybe you're going to stay low reps. So the second your body's able to do like 5 reps or 8 or 12, you're like, okay, time for a heavy resistance band. If you get to the max resistance band, like the heaviest resistance band you own, or one of the heaviest resistance bands you can buy on the market, and somehow it's become light, well, props to you, because that's impressive. But if you want, you can double fold the resistance band so it's tighter, and then keep going from there. Obviously, from there it's going to be harder to improve. It's going to get very difficult again, and I doubt the chances of you ever having that same problem happen again where the resistance band gets light. But if it does, well, if you can't find a heavy resistance band, then just try and see if you can triple fold it. But I highly doubt you'd be able to pull that off. But most likely, most people watching this video, they won't have the drive to be able to pull this off, which they really should. because there's very few areas in sprinting where you're able to put in as many reps as you want, and every single rep you put in becomes results on the track. And this is one of those examples where every single rep you get to put in will become results on the track. You just need to make sure you strengthen all of these muscles simultaneously so that they all get stronger together. Otherwise, you're gonna have really certain muscles will become really strong. Like your weaker muscles at the start become really strong, but then your okay muscles are now the weak link, and you can't have these weak links. Everything needs to go in tangent with the other things. If you really want to get fast, obviously focus on the big muscles, the muscles you can see, the muscles that are obvious to grow, but don't neglect the tinier ones, because these will strengthen you. And if resistance bands aren't really your forte and you want to be able to go beyond resistance bands, because like I said, what happens if using resistance band and you got to the heaviest one and somehow you managed to double the resistance with that one resistance band, you fold it in itself and that band's easy. Now what? Now we have to go to the gym. Cable machines. Do the exact same thing you was doing before with a cable machine and keep working your way up. You generally, like, there's a few different things you can do that they even have names actually, because that's crazy. There's reverse squats for the psoas muscle. If you look at knees over toes, guy on YouTube, look him up. You might already know who he is. He says you should work your way up to doing half your body weight. I think it was 10 reps. So if you can do half your body weight for 10 reps, then that's a standard. Trust me, you probably can't do that. Maybe you'd be close if you was able to pull this off with the resistance bands alone, but you probably can't do that. The reason why I prefer the resistance bands, however, though, is because with the resistance bands, all you need is a pole or something that's similar to a pole, that's immovable. And you can start doing all of these exercises I just listed. Well, I didn't list many, but the lying down knee raises and the lunge walk, well, not even lunge walk, it's just the side walks. You can do these with just a pole. That's it. So which means if you wanted to, you could do them outside, and even more importantly, you can do them inside really easily. You can wake up, do them. You can do them midday. You can do them before you go to bed. It's really easy to get the work in, which is a bit different if you used to go to the gym. You have to buy the membership. You have to pay for travel to get to the gym, maybe not, but you still have to pay in time to get to the gym back and forth. And if you're gonna shower and stuff once you're there and you're coming back, that's gonna waste a lot more time than if you just had to do it at home, where you could do it, then shower or eat or whatever you wanted to do, and you can keep doing it again and again and again and again. So once you've strengthened these smaller muscles, you're gonna realize you're gonna be able to sprint much faster, and you'll be able to sprint much easier with less energy, because yes, you've strengthened your bigger muscles, which means you have a bigger engine, but is this engine more efficient? That's essentially what happens as you improve these smaller muscles, because they interact with the bigger muscles, so they're able to move more efficiently, because they literally, these three specifically, but other ones as well, which you should also look up, investigate and strengthen, they do focus on stability and coordination. The better you get at these two things, the more efficient your muscles are going to be able to move through ranges of motion. And if you're able to improve the ranges of motions, then again, more efficiency too. If you want to be able to increase the amount of energy your body has, well, increasing your muscles will also help with that too. These minor ones as well. Not to a large degree. Increasing the amount of energy you're able to have has never been easy. It's always been more of a cardiovascular thing. So if you want to be able to increase your energy, then obviously, if you want, you're going to have to go and look more at improving your cardiovascular systems. But if you want to be able to move more efficiently whilst you're sprinting, this is a great way to do it, improving these smaller muscles. Because you might get down sprint form, so you're able to sprint faster, but even if you do, how much power you're going to be able to put into the ground if these muscles are tiny? Think about that. If you like the video, let me know in the comment section below. Check the description, because anything I forget to say in the video, I always put in the description. And if you like my content, subscribe. Helps the channel out a lot. I post every 2 days at 1 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. If you don't know when that is, just hit the bell and then you'll be notified instantly.